That's cute. I like that.
So
Who gave
that
that
was
to
a
you?
Christmas present. Somebody.
Tiller vehicle, is that how
Scared
we're
of that.
using it now?
All right, city recorder, are we ready?
Oh, these look good. These
I'm a minute and a half early.
Well, I've got 6:59, getting ready to click over to 7.
I didn't see the ladder truck there.
No, I didn't either.
And that's one of those where it was so darn windy. Marshmallow.
Yeah,
I mean, you prepare for that.
I'll buy the big kind.
I got a fist. Steak off guy.
All right, here we go. Call to order the city council session for Wednesday, January 21st, 2026, and it's still awkward to say that year. If we could please have a roll call.
Counselor Todd? Counselor Copeland? Here. Counselor Owen? Here. Counselor Dennerlein?
Present.
Counselor Marker?
Here,
Counselor Weber? Here. Keith, excuse me, Mayor Kudrna?
Oh, and you know what? Time out. I've been asking her for 18 years to use my first name. She finally slipped up and did it. Here. If we could stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, Budget Committee candidate interview. You might as well keep standing, Ted, come on down. Welcome. Is there anybody up here that doesn't look familiar to you?
No.
Okay, I didn't think so.
I've been on budget for 12 years, this will be 13.
This is true, including council time.
Long time.
It is a long time. We had a possible questions, but I actually just have one for, two. Two real quick questions for you. You want to do this again?
I enjoy doing it.
Could you scoot up just a little bit so the microphone can catch it? Or scoot that closer, either one.
There we go, okay. Finance is a hobby, always been there. I was responsible for a lot of dollars in my previous life, and I've always been in finance. I was on the sheriff's budget committee for 7 years, 6 years. And then my church was pretty easy out of this. I think 30 years, 36 years, long time.
Okay. Now, you've already served multiple terms on the Budget Committee. If you were to look back, what discussions or decisions stand out to you as being especially meaningful or challenging?
You have to speak up.
In your time being on Budget Committee, what decisions were either meaningful or challenging to you?
Well, I think the toughest part is trying to balance your influence and outflows when you're so restricted by what property tax did to us. You only get so many dollars. And all the small cities, I follow this closely with the league. All the small cities are struggling right now because they don't have enough revenue. Cost of doing business in the city has gone up so much, and there's no dollars coming in, so that's the challenge. That's what makes it interesting, and I don't want to use the word fun, but that's what makes it interesting. Try to balance that out and see how you can do that.
Excellent. Does anybody else have any questions? No? I think we're good.
That's it?
That's it.
Oh my gosh.
Quick and painless, sir.
I was only disappointed that there wasn't more applicants. You know, because there was vacancies.
Yeah, and we're still gonna continue looking.
And I just have one comment. When we do our budget process here, we on the committee, including the council, we don't get to see the budget until the day of the budget meeting. When I was doing Multnomah County's budget, we were at least able to see a draft of what the chair was trying to do before we got to the meeting. So here you have a lot of citizens coming in here that maybe they have a lot of finance background. But they come in and all of a sudden now they have a budget and within 2 days it's over. you don't really get a chance to study it, to see what's going on, so that you get a feel for what the city is struggling to do. And the citizens, I don't see that either. You know, they just seem to think that the city's doing okay. But with the revenue that's coming in and the restrictions that we have on the state, cities are struggling. Anyway, that was just my,
Well, I hear what you're saying, and I
it'd be
think,
nice to have it a couple days ahead of time, and I'll look at it.
well, I was just gonna point out, remember, the first meeting, it's a week in between meetings, not the next day. And those budget committees, the first night is typically just going through it. We don't talk about it, we don't discuss it. And that gets a week if you want to get a hold of our finance director. I think we can do a better job of encouraging people to ask questions. I think we can do a better job of encouraging the budget committee members to reach out to our finance department or our city manager to ask those questions. But I would say that they have it for at least a week.
Thank you.
Do we have any citizens commenting on agenda items that are not a public, that is not a public hearing?
I received no requests.
Okay, thank you. Presentations, Portland General Electric. We have more people here than usual, I'm just a little excited. I know. Welcome.
Thank you, Mayor. And Council President, council members, my name is Larry Becknall. I'm the Senior Vice President for Advanced Energy Delivery at Portland General Electric. And with me is President, who is actually the Governor of Relations liaison to the city. And so even as we talk today, we'll have a few time for a little bit of question and answer. And then, but always know that if you reach out to Preston, you can find whoever in the company. We have recently given us an assignment that we really need to start to build the partnership or relationship with all of our cities. And so by all means, if you've got questions, we want to dig into Preston's the guy, and he has the right to tap anybody on the shoulder and to bring them in might need. So thank you for the time this evening. Maybe a little bit of background on myself. I've been with Portland General Electric for just over 11 years, and prior to that, ran the transmission for Bonneville Power, and then prior to that, Clark Public Utilities across the river, and then Pacific Core, so kind of all over the Northwest. So my background, I love electrons. I've been a student of the grid for over 40 years, and I love what this industry does, but understanding it, there's not a lot behind turning like a switch on. So I want to share with you a little bit of some of the things that are going on in Portland General right now, and then hopefully a little bit of dialogue questions if you like. So Ken, thank you for putting the slides up, appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm just not trying. Oh, yeah, you're gonna have
There we
to scroll. Unfortunately, the clicker's not working because it's a PDF.
Give you my chance there. So we talked a little bit about that, and you know, throw a few numbers up here that in terms of customers, roughly 5,000 customers, 4,400 that are residential, and over 500 that are commercial, and in the town, in the city here, and so you know, we like to look at back in time just a little bit. And we show the growth there since 1990, a little over 300%. And the reason why we put that number out there, 1990, quite honestly, transmission that is here in the Northwest was all built in the early 70s. And so if we consider our growth and growth patterns, residential has been less than 1% typically for the last 25 years each year, and use the energy efficiency to help to offset that. Now, the last couple of years, we started to see more in terms of heat pumps, electrification, electric vehicles, and so you know, we've seen the heat dome of 2021, if you recall, in the summer when we hit 115 degrees. Well, if you were to look and see the chart of that day and that summer, you would see, you know, we normally, you know, get up in the morning and the hotter God of the day, it would start to peak, and then you would expect it to get to a peak, and then it would come off and, in the evening and cool down a little bit. Well, instead it went up, it went flat. And it went flat because there was nothing else to turn on. Everybody had every fan, every air conditioner that was available on. Now, that was at 115 degrees in 2021. The following summer, in 2022, at 96 degrees, we hit the same peak. Now, it didn't go flat. We had more and people bought air conditioners. So that increase of 10% that particular year, because people wanted to make sure that they could ride through any sort of heat in the future. So we saw a big jump, and just say it changed tendencies. That's why the rest of what we're seeing in growth in terms of electric usage, and it is a commodity that we're all using every day more and more, but 2.5% to 3.5% now growth. So as you think about the city and you think about growth, your water supply, your sewer supply, all the utilities, what we want to build is a partnership to make sure we're thinking about it together. As you're thinking about whether it's apartment complexes or any other commercial businesses or industries coming in, we want to make sure that we're thinking ahead. Because if we haven't done any further build-outs of major systems since the 1990s or even the 70s, we've now caught up. And the way I like to describe it is that New Deal in the Northwest, we put people to work build dams. World War II breaks out, the aluminum industry comes in, we build the transmission. And so by the 70s, we're done building. The aluminum industry leaves in the 90s, and we had lots of capacity. We've now filled that with chip manufacturers and other industries and growth, et cetera, to the point where that system is now full. We don't have a lot of capacity left to spread around. So I share that as food for thought. So as we plan, we've got to think, because if it takes you 3 years to buy the equipment, to be able to build a substation, or to build the transmission line, the permitting, and all those things, we've got to think ahead. So appreciate it as we work together to think about that as a future. And that's kind of getting to these core values. What are you thinking about? What's most important for your community? How do we partner with you as we think about each of those things? As we go to the next slide, there we go. So obviously, times have changed. We talked about storms, we talked about extreme weather. We've been seeing it, whether it was the heat bubbles, it's some of our winter storms. It happens. Seems like storms now may come in quicker, come harder, and leave faster. Well, that does a lot more damage in that short period of time. And so we're thinking about how do we harden the system, how do we put things in that are going to make a difference. Obviously, there's cybersecurity, you're dealing with it, earthquake readiness, all of these emergencies, and how do we work together to make sure we're prepared. In something that, here are a few projects that are listed. I think one of the bigger ones that, clearly here in Fairview is the battery storage project. And I know we have partners that are here at the port and Xterra to talk a little bit further about even the expansion. But that 200 megawatt battery that sits out here is a really great, not only tool to help take energy that's cheap, maybe it's the wind at night, or it's the solar from the desert Southwest during the day, store it and then use it when we're in our peak and when energy is more expensive. And so we can keep prices down. And so little batteries not only serve that purpose, they also serve a purpose of resiliency for us. So if we have a problem on the system, you as a community can feel a little bit better than you got a 200 megawatt battery sitting out here that can help you ride through whatever the circumstance might be. And so we're seeing a lot of benefits to batteries. It's a device that we haven't had in our industry. To really have storage, to be able to hold on to the electrons that tend to, well, they travel at the speed of light, so you can't hold on to them very long. So it's been a really great project for us. We have a similar one over at St. John's, and then the smaller one that's out in the Hillsborough area. And we're just now going through bidding processes and looking for additional capacity in other critical spots. We're also we've listed a few other projects up here that are underway as well. And I think, as we can think about how do we coordinate anytime that, if we're going in and doing any kind of street work, if we can coordinate ahead of time, make sure that, we're not coming in after the fact, cutting streets or doing all things to mess up a new street. Nobody wants to do that. So thinking about projects ahead of time. As I was driving around and thinking about the underground that you've done, with new developments, et cetera, it's always cheaper when it's first installed. So I encourage you to continue that process as we get to the future.
I will just add, any capital improvement planning that you guys are planning to do or anticipate doing as part of your regular process for infrastructure planning and pretty much all of the above, feel free to connect with me directly if you want someone from our team to sort of align the list of projects that we have anticipating coming up. I know we hold regular quarterly and sometimes monthly meetings with the county and other cities, just to talk through any capital projects that cities are undergoing so that we can get our work crews aligned so that you guys aren't further delayed in any projects that you have on the horizon. So just keep that in mind for the coming months and years.
There we go. Pricing, and that's number one action item, and that was the spring of 2024, and all 51 cities participated in writing us a nice letter that said, keep rates down. I'll just be blunt about it, and we had not raised rates for some time, and then all of a sudden we hit a big rate increase. I think lesson learned, and we've heard it time and time again, is smaller increments is a whole lot easier to swallow than big increments. So we're also doing some things to control cost. This last year, we shaved over $25 million out of our O&M expenses. And that was not easy. That came at the cost of even laying off some of our employees. So first time since I've been there that we've had to go through that level. We're doing it again this year, not so much on the layoffs, but on the reducing of the costs. So we're going to continue to take out as much cost as we can, but also know that in things like wildfire, we aren't going to shortchange that. We've got to make sure that we do the right things when it comes to wildfire resiliency and making sure that our system is redundant in many ways, so that when substations have problems, we can pick up from other neighborhoods and make sure that we can keep reliability at most. But the last item there, the offering customer programs at lower cost, we do have income qualified reduced rates for customers, and I think we have a slide, I'll see maybe the next one talks on that. Of the households that are eligible, I think you're roughly 72%, if I remember, that of those that are eligible are participating in the program, so which is really good. And I know there are articles, if you want to put in the newsletter out, to encourage people to participate. Those on fixed income or low income do qualify, and it's been a big help to those customers.
I believe to that point, we are also holding I think it's a community resilience fair, not just us, but a lot of folks in East County. I think it's going to be in the Centennial neighborhood on February 28th, where we're going to have a lot of opportunities for customers to come in to talk to us about this very program, but also many others that we have going on to demonstrate resilience, but also support customer affordability on the east side.
The last one that we want to touch on is, where are we in terms of clean energy? This last year, 45% non-emitting, and you can see kind of the breakout, the hydro, the wind, solar. Other, the 13% is when we're purchasing from outside of the area. Unfortunately, don't color code the electrons, so we can't tell which ones are green, so we treat them as if they are carbon emitting. You can see what's left on both our natural gas and our coal as well is the Eastern Montana Coal Strip project. So, but that gives you a feel. We've been improving on that each year. There have been quite a few articles in the paper and the news lately talking about, can we achieve the 2030, 2040 targets? And how do we maintain low cost as we do that? And so we are really mindful of besides that. That's why when I mentioned things about batteries and being able to arbitrage when you can take the lower cost energy, hold it for some time, and then use it, how that offsets your cost. And so we're going to look for all those opportunities. But we also want to make sure that the system is robust. We've been doing a lot of studying. Like I said, I've been a student of the electron for many years now. I've been studying molecules on the natural gas side a little bit because we had some situations where it became a real concern in the Northwest. And so we need to make sure we have the energy that is going to be reliable. And as we do things to transition, we do it in a really good manner and make sure that we are reliable. So let me stop there. I think we can open up.
I will add just one more thing. We talked about wildfire very kind of briefly in this context, since it doesn't necessarily directly impact the city of Fairview, or it doesn't have as direct an impact. I wanted to, since we are sort of on the eastern side of the county right now, incorporate other communities that are at higher risk of those wildfires. I wanted to just call out that any public safety power shutoff occurrences that may happen to prevent fires during red flag days and high winds. We're trying to become more proactive with cities that are around those surrounding areas, so that if there is, a public safety power shutoff in Corbett, let's say, that there may be a wave of residents coming into your community seeking assistance and help. So when in the instance that may happen, we will be sure to reach out to the city, to give it fair warning and to make sure that you are receiving those same warnings and 72 hours, 24 hours ahead of time, so that you guys can prepare for the impacts that will have on your community. But yeah, I think we're good.
Excellent. Any questions for council? Okay. Well, thank you very much for coming in. We really appreciate it. I'm going to mention to council, I know I've had, the city manager, George, and I have had the pleasure of touring that battery facility. I know we've mentioned it to council. I'm going to mention it again. If you can take a tour of this place, do it. It's kind of cool. Council Marker.
I wasn't gonna say anything, but I feel I'm not doing a good job if I don't. This job up here, being a city councilor, I don't get paid a dime. I do this because I love our city, and I want our city to prosper, and I want everybody in the city to prosper. When you guys were having your price increases and stuff like that, I was not very happy. I'm a little bit happier now that I'm on the income qualification program, because I only get Social Security, only getting a little bit of a pension, that's it. My problem is with PGE is we have hydroelectric power here, okay? Not everybody has that. We do, and we're lucky that we do. My feeling is we ought to be selling some of that. So that way we can turn around and make a buck on it, okay? And we don't turn around and charge our customers as much as we're charging them to get that money. Now, everybody's got to make a buck. I get that, okay? I know you guys got to make a buck or you'd go out of business, okay? But I really believe in my heart of hearts that you all should try to turn around and get something back from what we give. In other words, you guys are giving electricity to the customers of this town, okay? You should be getting something back by selling some of this electricity for the dams that we have in order to be able to, survive. And the price increases were bad, not good at all. And you could probably ask anybody in this room. There ain't many right now, but if I could fill up this room, I guarantee you that there would be a lot of people that were very, very upset, and they kind of felt like PG didn't care because of the price increases. So the only thing that I would like to say about that is before you guys decide to raise prices again, think of the people that can't afford it. Especially the elderly folks like yourself and myself. I'm 71. And I think that you're gonna get a lot more feelings of you guys care about people than just turn around and taking their money. That's all I gotta say.
Thank you, Councilman Mark. And something I would just call out is you see on the ring here, 26% of our energy comes from hydro. What that also tells you is we don't get, as the investor-owned utility, the same allotment of the hydro from the northwest that they use Clark Public Utilities across the river gets. Now, that's under the Northwest Public Power Act. What we do get is a revenue sharing. And so we're right now in that negotiation with Bonneville to make sure that because we all built the dams. Tax dollars, that built the dams originally. And those of us in the Northwest paid for that because Bonneville is not funded by the federal government. It is funded through all the rates that the customers pay. And so we want everybody to get that shared benefit. And so we're in that negotiation right now to make sure that that is maintained. And because all of the customers in the Northwest deserve a piece of that. So you're exactly right. That's also why we've entered into the energy imbalance market to try to access the lower cost, sell where we can, and we do a significant amount of that. If you ever get a chance, we built the Integrated Operations Center where we operate. We've been doing tours. Like I know we got a group tomorrow. We encourage you to come and see how we actually operate, how we sell, how we buy, and how we keep the lights on. It's a pretty fascinating process to see. But I would invite you, if you have an interest and would like to, we built that a couple of years ago. And I'll just say it's state of the art in terms of, we stole the best ideas from across the nation. And it's operating here and doing a really good job. So when we talk about these batteries, that's how we make sure it operates and operates really efficiently.
The only other thing that I would turn around and say is we're lucky that you came here to talk to us. Okay, I feel pleased that you guys would turn around and come and talk to us and let us know what's going on. But a lot of the public out there does not know, okay? And you guys get a bad rap because of that. They turn around and say, well, PG is charging more money again. Well, if you guys let people know why, and they don't want to hear it on a news report, PG is charging more money. They would rather have you come out and say, hey, look, folks, we got to turn around and charge you more money. We don't want to, we don't like to, but we have to, okay? It's better for them to turn around and hear it come from the horse's mouth than to hear it come secondhand.
I will add to that. We are to that point exactly. We are starting in 2026, forming what are called community advisory councils in each county that we operate in. And Multnomah County is getting started first. And part of their task will be to encourage and facilitate community level engagement, which includes town halls throughout the county and other learning opportunities for those in the community to basically to not only get a better understanding of what we do, but also get a better understanding of what will be impacting them short and long term. I'm happy to send that information to the city here. I'm also happy to send any information that you guys feel would be useful in a newsletter or social media or whatever community engagement communications that you guys have. We've seen that work pretty well in other cities, especially for the income qualified program, getting that information out so that every single customer that can access it knows how to and is willing to pick up the phone and give us a call. So yeah, I think there are a lot of avenues that we can explore in 2026 to encourage better and more personal communication.
Right, communication's key, it is. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thanks. Next on the agenda is Port of Portland East County Strategy. Hello again. That's a good point. I know, yeah. Transition music.
Transition music.
That's what he's saying.
There we go.
Mayor Peterman, Council President, and members of council. My name is Dan Eisenhuis. I'm the Regional Affairs Manager with the Port of Portland. I've served in that position for a little over a year. I'm here with Chris Damgan, Development Manager with the Port of Portland. And at the outset, before we jump into the presentation, I just want to say, if you ever have a need to reach out to the Port of Portland, please feel free to reach out to Chris himself. Both City Manager George and Director Sullivan know how to find us. So thank you for having us here this evening to provide an update on the Port of Portland's activities in East County and with the City of Fairview. Before I hand over things to Chris to talk more specifically about that work, just want to take a moment to briefly provide a little bit of context about the Port of Portland. Please go ahead. Yes. So, as you might know, the Port of Portland is a public agency whose mission is to build shared prosperity for the region through travel, trade, and economic development. We were established by the state legislature in 1891 to dredge the shipping channel to the ports in the city of Portland. And we actually continue to be the designated contractor to the US Army Corps of Engineers for performing maintenance dredging on the lower Columbia River. In addition to that, we operate major economic engines for the region, including 3 airports, PDX, Hillsborough, and Troutdale Airport. We also operate 3 active marine terminals on the Columbia River and lower Willamette River that facilitate transportation of goods ranging from the container terminal at Terminal 6 to auto imports and exports, movement of grain exports. The lower Columbia River is the 2nd largest wheat export gateway in the United States, following the Mississippi River, as well as minerals such as soda ash and potash and bramble cargo as well. And we also operate 6 business parks, including the Troutdale Reynolds Industrial Park, or TRIP, and the Gresham Vista Business Park here in East County. as well as our newest business park that we're developing, which is the Master Neighborhood Housing Innovation Campus at the former Terminal 2 on the Ladder River. That is a location where we are really investing in helping to grow the mass timber ecosystem here in Oregon, and see that as an opportunity to really help lift up economic opportunity throughout the state to take advantage of materials that can be used in place of concrete and steel in larger buildings. Notably, just a little bit of background about the Port of Portland. Our operations are divided into two what we call business lines, the aviation business line and the general fund or trade and economic development business line. The major reason for that is that federal regulation requires that we essentially have a firewall between airport revenue on the aviation side and revenue for any non-aviation purposes. So the lion's share of revenue for the Port of Portland comes from business transactions, but revenue that is raised from aviation cannot be spent for non-aviation purposes. In terms of our work here in East County, going back to the 1940s is when we acquired Troutdale Airport, and really were focused more on aviation and then moving into marine in the subsequent decades, building sort of the travel and trade components of our mission. In the early 2000s, the port moved more intentionally into economic development and developing assets beyond those aviation and marine assets, notably with the redevelopment of the former Reynolds site into the Troutdale Reynolds Industrial Park, as well as development of the Gresham Vista Business Park. That dovetailed, of course, with our trade mission, but was more focused on economic development. And it's really been within the last 5 or 6 years that the port has had more of a concerted focus on the shared prosperity component of our mission, in recognition that ultimately we're serving people in the region and very intentionally seeking to promote access to opportunity and shared benefits for folks throughout the region. And that's reflected in our work here in East County with the East County strategy, and Chris will talk more about that.
Thanks, Dan, and again, Chris Danby, the development manager here. I know several of you here. I used to be over in the city of Troutdale, community development director, and I was glad to come back to East County even on a night like tonight. Because luckily the weather is we have. Some of you, and certainly Nathan, especially Sarah, we've been able to work at a staff level and also time to time interact with the electeds about what we're doing with the East County strategy. And really it was a several-year effort to come up with a coordinated strategy among the 4 East County cities as far as what our economic priorities are, how might that translate into a larger shared prosperity goal, and thinking about being a little bit more intentional with the types of projects we can promote across city lines and across private and public sector interests. Also determining where there are avenues to advocate for more dollars to come to East County, particularly from a state level, regional, and even federal level. And just really being strategic about the remaining properties that we have, since we are really built out in many ways, but we still have some opportunities both locationally and programmatically to consider what we can do. So for the better part of 2 years, and Sarah especially was involved with it through a coalition, we came up with a roadmap document, which is available online, and we can certainly send the link out to you all for it. With this overriding mission that recognizing East County's demographics as well as its output from its existing trade sector business. It is an economic district, a thriving one at that. And that it has a lot of opportunity in spite of its challenges, and we still have a ton of interest and a ton of property where we can further accentuate that mission. And as we were trying to think about putting this roadmap together, we were also trying to identify priority projects and priority locations for where we can collectively advise property sponsors, owners, communities on how to advance property. And we came up with 3 general locations to kickstart this effort. And while these 3 locations are admittedly all in Gresham, one of course is right across the street from me, across Gleason at the corner of 223rd and Gleason there. These are kind of 3 properties where we see that there's enough momentum, there's been enough consideration and planning where if there can be regional alignment and a shared vision or goal for outcomes for those properties, that we can align as a region. I highlighted number 2 in particular because that is actually property that the port owns, where we actually have an active request for qualifications right now to secure a potential master developer to look at a potential mixed-use property. It's a unique property in our portfolio, and then it's commercially zoned, whereas most of the property the port has is industrial. Obviously, since it's catty corner to the city of Fairview, it has implications for you folks, hopefully, and hopefully it can be a beneficial property and something that East County as a whole can reflect. The 2 other priorities I wanted to highlight, obviously, we're in the Mount Hood Community College Service District. Mount Hood has been doing a lot of work in advanced manufacturing and semiconductor efforts. They've established a working group to advance some of the academic programming there. So while that's not necessarily a locational project, it is certainly a programmatic one, given also the presence of the semiconductor industry in East County and continuing to support that, as well as career and technical education opportunities through that effort. And then also within Gresham is the Vance Park property just south of Rockwood on 190th, where the county has property to turn into both a park and a job corridor.
You have 1 and 3 swapped here.
They do. I was just writing it down. Yeah, I hate
You
to
have 1 and 3
I hate
swapped.
to be that guy, but on the map, 1 and 3 are.
I can be directionally challenged, but yeah, numbers.
Just going, wow, 190th is all the way out there. I mean,
I kept looking at 1 is not semiconductor.
oh, sorry.
Yeah, we'll fix that. Sorry about that, but good catch on
It's
it.
all good.
Let's go to a map I'm a little bit more familiar with under control. So that was effectively our larger efforts. Obviously, we're here though, as a to talk about what we as an agency have been doing. And as Dan mentioned, we have 3 main assets in East County. TRIP, which is where I'm going to spend most of my comments here on, as well as Troutdale Airport, and of course Gresham is the business park in catty corner to the city of Fairview. We want to highlight TRIP in particular because there is, despite the name Troutdale, there is a presence, of course, in Fairview where we have a developable property as well as a larger mitigation site as part of an extensive wetland project in that area. TRIP has been, I think, fair to say, and even neutrally to say, it's been a very successful project. It's one of the top shelf brownfield redevelopment sites in the state of Oregon. I think we can all be proud of it regionally, and it has yielded results. We have 3 main tenants in Amazon, FedEx, and C&S Grocers. Together they employ close to 5,000 people during peak holiday times and 4,000 across the year. We also have NextEra Energy Resources, which developed a battery energy storage system. And while it doesn't employ a lot of people, it also has tremendous valuation, and it's a very extensive and expensive project, and a good use of a very hard to develop and hard to tenant property that otherwise by most typical industrial standards would have been difficult to sell. Our success has also been a little bit of our Achilles heel. Now we don't have much property left. We have 3 lots that are vacant, 2 are currently in a pending status, and 2 of the lots are land banked, which leaves us with the Fairview lot, and that's where I'd like to pivot to. And how we were thinking about positioning the Fairview lot is considering, as you just heard from our friends at PGE, the positioning of the site at the nexus of significant regional energy infrastructure. You guys are obviously aware of the substations in the locations, the spaghetti stranded power lines that run regionally across there. You obviously have the substation, which is off Marine Drive next to Blue Lake Park. So this site, while zoned industrial and having been marketed industrial, really yielded itself best from a highest and best use perspective for some sort of energy play. But it had to be the right kind, because the property itself, I'm gonna violate every rule in real estate land, the property is a difficult one to develop. It is long, it is skinny, it is heavily constrained, with easements and access considerations, Prosperity Avenue there by the landing. It's very geographically isolated. So from a typical, again, industrial site development perspective, what can you accomplish here? And the resulting technology of battery energy storage systems yields itself extremely well in this regard. You're very close to the existing substations and transmissions. And so really in the past 2 to 3 years, we started receiving interest in that field and worked with a purchase and sale agreement. And tonight I'm happy to announce that the port last week transacted with NextEra Energy Resources, which owns the adjacent property in Troutdale and is now a proud property owner here in Fairview as well. NextEra is the largest operator of clean energy projects in the continent. They also have a decarbonization goal and have worked really hard at BESS systems, and the proof is in the concept immediately next door. There is a representative from the company here tonight, Jim Reel. And Jim, if you want to come up, you're welcome to introduce yourself to the council. And I wanted to take the opportunity to welcome them to the city, and we've been very fortunate and pleased to have worked with them during the transaction. Thank you, Chris.
Good evening. My name is Jim Reel, NextEra Energy Resources. As you mentioned, it's the largest producer of wind and solar energy in the world, and also a world leader in battery energy storage. Wanted to take this opportunity to say hello, thank you for having me, and look forward to continued development work on this project. We kind of lay out our proposed timeline and answer any questions that you might have. At this point, we're planning to work through permitting this year with potential plan to start construction in 2027, late 2027, and go COD in mid-2020. Energize the project in mid-2020. We recently built the Troutdale facility next door. A lot of lessons learned from that construction that we're planning to put forth into this new project, and forward to continuing that development work.
Any questions?
I have one more slide, Mayor, and then I'd be happy just to wrap up and stay around. Just take a consideration again, when you're looking at these projects oftentimes, and Mayor, you've been out there, you're looking effectively at shipping container units. These units pack a lot of punch, and while the job count for such a delivery installation is a little bit small relative to the acreage, the sheer valuation of the project is substantial. It is a more substantially valuable project than the Amazon facility was on a property 4 times the size. So this suggests long-term significant revenue opportunities for the city from a permitting perspective, and downwind at some point also from a property tax perspective as well. Another thing that we want to highlight through the Port's Shared Prosperity Initiative is when we transact with property, we look to do business with companies. This is the intentionality behind it, of companies that can deliver quality projects to the region, that can provide quality jobs when possible, and can also provide support to the community. So the Port is set up with the Oregon Community Foundation, an economic prosperity fund, and part of the transaction with NextEra is an expectation of a $350,000 contribution to this fund, which can go toward a variety of different initiatives. It could be job training opportunities, industry adjacent needs, educational focus, charitable outreach, and we'll be working with the Community Foundation and NextEra on where and how that money is directed. But happy to share the news with you folks tonight. It's a big win for the Port. This is a property we did not have very high expectations on a financial result for, given its constraints, but we think that this was their highest and best use, and we're really happy to share the news with you tonight. And with that, I'm happy to take any questions, and Dan, if you can come back up too if he needs to, and Jim's here too.
Okay, Councilor Todd.
I looked at this when I was on planning years ago, and and I talked to someone from the board, was like, yeah, we're not sure, so this is, in that sense, a win. Environmental impacts, it's a wetland, but it's this side of things, and this isn't gonna leak much, this isn't old school batteries. We're a question, the same, like my understanding, I haven't researched this the last time we got with it, but it's putting some things, and, traffic impact, good. I guess the one question is this is public land. I'm just thinking about where it is, this is spitballing, because this is the only real question, now that I had the environmental impact, not that. It's on the water and so forth, so have you installed any boulevard things on top of your stuff, so we will see them when they sail by?
That I'm aware of, but.
Okay, is it covered by 1% for art?
You can't see anything from the river.
Oh, okay.
Levees-
It's, the
levees
levee's
away.
too high there.
Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty,
That was like, what was the one thing, it's like, well, that, like, something pretty there, since we're not having people going in and out and so forth, but, okay, fine.
This is really so far out of the way that you don't even know it's there. I mean, you have to take a long walk from Troutdale to get there, so, yeah,
I mean,
it's,
it's, okay, yeah.
after being at the site next door, I can confer.
Okay, I just,
Concur on that one.
I was literally, that was me thinking out loud, it's like,
Honestly,
that's fine, okay, pretty, that's where I went.
honestly, I love the fact that you're utilizing this tough lot.
yeah.
Yeah,
And that you found a very viable use for it. I will say it is a little utopian. Going on the current site that you have now, the extreme uniformity of the battery boxes is almost concerning. It's just like you look down and going, okay, where are the troops? I'm just a little afraid. But no, in all seriousness, I love the fact that we're taking land that has not been utilized at all. And yeah, I hate to see grass disappear, but if we can do something to help keep our bills down, if we could do something to store some energy and to try to do a public good, this is a fantastic use for the site, and I'm extremely excited that this next phase is looking like it's starting to move forward. And it's in Fairview.
Yeah.
Bonus.
We get taxed dollars.
Yes, we get tax dollars. Council President Owen.
This is absolutely stunning news. If you were at our meeting a few weeks ago, we were talking about a vacant lot in the city of Fairview, and what the general request was to increase traffic and park trucks. So when we hear of property tax revenue, we hear about jobs, and best of all, I think we hear about low impact on existing infrastructure. I mean, this thing hits it out of the park. So thank you for coming this evening and sharing something positive. So it's very refreshing.
We don't get enough.
We definitely don't. So, now this is wonderful.
Yeah. Any other questions or comments?
I'm being nice tonight.
Good, because I only have so much breath left.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming in. Thank you for sharing the news. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Well, with that, we have a couple of proclamations. First will be Black History Month. Make sure I've got this, yes. Whereas the city of Fairview takes pride in joining with communities throughout the United States in recognizing February 2026 as Black History Month, a time to honor and reflect the history, culture, and contributions of African Americans, as whereas Black History Month recognizes and pays tribute to the profound contributions African Americans have made to the American history and highlights the enduring struggle for freedom, equality, justice, revealing how deeply and intertwined our histories are. And whereas Black Americans have continuously pushed the nation to live up to its founding ideals of freedom, liberty, and justice for all. establishing cultural, educational, medical, financial, labor, and media institutions to resist inequality, to advocate for their communities. And whereas despite these accomplishments, systemic racism persists in the United States, generating continued Black resistance that calls for a lasting institutional and societal change so deeply needed in our country. And whereas we honor and respect those sacrifices through courage, perseverance, and resilience, laid the foundation for today's civil rights movements, and whose experiences have formed and strengthened broader struggles for all justice. And whereas Black resilience, brilliance, innovation, and leadership continue to challenge injustice, break barriers, and call for lasting institutional and societal change. Now therefore be it proclaimed, the City of Fairview recognizes and honors February 1st through February 28th, 2026 as Black History Month, and calls upon the people of this community to observe this month with appropriate programs, activities, reflection, and to continue our collective efforts to build a world that is more just, equitable, and prosperous for all, proclaimed on this 21st day of January 2026. And we have one more. In the past, we have had specific ones, but we have decided to kind of globalize this into one for cancer prevention, or cancer awareness, I should say. Whereas National Cancer Prevention Month was first observed in 2004 following the passage of the U.S. Senate Resolution 252 in 2003, introduced and encouraged communities across the nation to educate one another on actions that could be taken to prevent cancer. And whereas according to the National Institutes of Health and other national authorities, approximately 1.9 million people are diagnosed with cancer each year in the United States. And with nearly half the new cases involving breast, prostate, lung, colorectal, and pancreatic cancers. And whereas research shows that approximately 40% of cancer diagnoses are associated with preventable risk factors. And whereas many cancers can be prevented or detected early enough through healthy lifestyle choices, protection from sun exposure, avoidance of tobacco and vaping products, and participation in recommended cancer screenings. Now therefore be it proclaimed that the City of Fairview recognizes and honors February 2026 as Cancer Prevention Month. And the city that urges all residents to take this opportunity to learn more about cancer prevention, schedule recommended screenings, and to utilize available local and regional health resources to protect their health and the health of their families, proclaimed on this day, 21st of January, 2026. And speaking as somebody who has had multiple friends and family members go through that one hits me hard. Next on the agenda is the consent agenda. Do we have a motion on that?
I second the motion that we accept the consent agenda as written.
Second.
We have motion and second. Any discussion? Corrections, okay. The only correction, it's okay. It's a minor point. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Passes. Public hearing. Script out here. Okay, if we could have the city recorder do the second reading for the ordinance by title.
Yes, ordinance 1, 2026, an ordinance amending the City of Fairview Municipal Code, Chapter 19.105, floodplain overlay to adopt, floodplain overlay to adopt 2020 Oregon Model Flood Hazard Management Ordinance and a pre-implementation compliance measure as required by FEMA.
I said this last time, I'll say it again. I'm glad you read that, not me. Alex, do you have any more information for us? No new updates. Does council have any questions for staff since the last meeting? Okay. If there are no further questions from council for staff, we will open the public meeting. Is there anybody in the audience that wishes to testify in favor of this proposal? If you could please come forward at this time. Okay. Is there anybody wishing to speak against this, in opposition of this proposal? If you can come forward at this time. Anybody neutral just wants to say hi? Okay, then we will close the public hearing on that. There's no further public testimony. Any further discussions or comments from council? Seems pretty straightforward to me. At this time, I entertain a motion.
I'll move to adopt ordinance 1, 2026 as written with no comment or adjustments.
Okay.
Second.
And Counselor Weber, second. Okay. Let's go ahead and call for, do we want to call for a vote on this or just do a majority? I'm actually looking at our city recorder on that one.
We can do either one. It's up to you.
I think we could do a majority, just a call vote on this. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Kind of sense where the wind was going on that one. Council business. Need to appoint a citizen to the budget committee. We had one interview earlier tonight, an existing budget committee member. I believe we have other spots that still need to be filled. Is that correct?
Yes, there are currently 4 vacancies. If this individual is appointed tonight, we will still have 3.
Okay. I would encourage all of us, if we can think of somebody in the area that would not be averse to giving up 3 Mondays in a row, to help us out, that would be much appreciated. I'll start guilting a couple of friends. Guilt, good old Catholic guilt, sometimes works. Volunteer, yeah, I have to twist an arm. But anyway, we have this appointment on the schedule here. Council President Owen.
Yeah, just a question, Deborah. I saw that there was a notation here in the information that at some point in time, council took some action to, I guess, limit the number of maybe consecutive terms that someone potentially hold. And so do you have any insight as to what the logic was behind that?
It was changed this was implemented a few councils ago. And the idea was they were, I think what they were trying to do is to try and always, as much as possible, bring in fresh new perspectives and not just automatically reappoint and have these really long-term members. I believe that was what they were trying to do. But the caveat to it is the council can always authorize somebody to serve more than 2 consecutive terms.
Wisdom of our elders and predecessors.
What happens when we have somebody that, like, we have somebody that would like to be on the committee, but we have others, in other words, there's only one person that wants to be on the committee and nobody else wants to. So do we automatically turn around and pick that person or what?
No, council always has the authority to appoint. If you choose not to, I think the way the municipal code reads, if any of our committees drop below, well, except for budget committee, because it's by the state, but our committees in our municipal code, if they drop below 3, the committee becomes at that point, on recess until we can get people to meet.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I think that it bears stating that we don't have to do this tonight. We can put off this decision to another meeting. Am I correct?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I just prepared the resolution so
Yep.
that if you chose to reappoint this evening, you could. If you don't want to, we can continue recruiting, see if we get more applicants.
And all of the positions all expire at the same time?
No, they're staggered. I think I'd have to look. I think there's, because he was being reappointed, I put him back into his same, which was 2029. There are other positions that are terming in 2028, and there's one position that will term in 2027.
Okay. Well, maybe I'll just throw this out there. Voted out, right?
Yeah.
So I would make a motion to appoint Ted Tosserud to the Fairview Budget Committee with the position that expires in 2027. And if I could just say why, we definitely have a lackluster of people that are interested in doing it. And I know that Ted at least expressed his interest in doing this, and there is call it the original directive of a council to try to mix this thing up periodically, but since there is no mix, at least at this point, at least retaining him on the committee, I think would be still valuable based on his experience, and would potentially give us the opportunity to do something with some fresh folks for a longer term. That's the motion.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on this? Councilor Todd?
That was our esteemed council president said, what I was, he put in words, what I was putting together in my head. We need a deeper bench, we need to get some new folks and so forth. But we do have the responsibility to have a committee that can function, and this is someone who is interested in it, has been on a long time. So in that sense, giving him the spot that gets reviewed in 2 years makes a lot of sense to me, based on where we're at.
Or a year.
Yeah, or a year, I guess, but we do definitely need to, but I'm seconding this with the understanding we all need to go beat the bushes and drum up and get some people, get more people involved, and have a deeper bench for all our committees, but budget is one of the ones we definitely need people.
Agreed. Councilor Dennerlein?
And I don't disagree with what's being said. I would almost say that maybe we just kick this can down the road for a couple of weeks or a month, because we don't really need to do this until May. Personally, right now, if you ask me if I want Ted back on budget, I would say no. I think we need fresh blood. I think we need a different perspective. I've heard the same rhetoric out of him for the last, 9 years. But nothing gets changed. It's the same rhetoric. It's never a new idea. And I mean, we fail. I failed. I think we all failed at trying to find people to get into our committees. Anybody out there want to be on our committees? He's already on the committee. I can't ask him. But we sit up here and I don't know what you folks are here for tonight. Thank you for coming and listening to us. But we need people. We need people. You do not have to have a degree, in finance to sit on the budget committee. It's addition and subtraction. There's not even any algebra involved. And so maybe there's a little algebra, I don't know.
What is the amount of hours that we need commitment in this position?
That is an excellent question. Typically, a budget committee meeting will last about 2 to 3 hours. And it happens on consecutive Monday evenings. I believe we're looking at May, is that correct? So it'd be the first, second, and maybe the third meeting in May.
How do you apply?
That is a great question. We have a bunch of people over here that would.
I mean, go to the
You can go
website.
online, but I see a bunch of people over here that right after the meeting, you could just go over to them and say, how can I apply? And they'd be lovely and happy to help you out.
And of all the commissions that we have, all the committees that we have, budget is probably the least time consuming.
Oh, absolutely.
It's just those 2 or 3 Mondays.
Does this thing and then you're done.
Yeah. So,
It's low commitment. Council Marker?
I would just like to say I agree with what Councilor Dennerlein said about Ted. Ted is a very nice man. I like him. And he's got a nice, good brain and stuff like that. But it's just like Jeff said, it's the same old thing all the time. And we need to not hear that and hear something different.
Okay. Council Weber?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just gonna say basically the same thing everybody else said, but, I do want to honor the years and years of service that Ted has given the city, and the fantastic work that he's done to, make our community what it is today. But I also agree that it is time, something new. The city's had a lot of changes this year, but everything is going in a very positive direction, so I think it just makes sense to continue to recruit new people, get some fresh ideas, and not just for budget committee, but for all our committees, really, we need to do that. So I'm in favor either way. I'm fine with appointing him for the term that ends in 2027, but I think it also makes sense to wait to get additional applications submitted, do more interviews, and then maybe have like a more robust pool of candidates to choose from, so.
Okay. Council President Owen?
Well, so we're gonna put this up.
Hold up.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I mean, the purpose of my motion, I guess, this evening is to, and I hear what everybody's saying, and I don't necessarily disagree with a lot of the comments, and believe me, Ted and I have a little bit of history. Operation of the city, both agreeing and strongly disagreeing on certain matters. On the flip side, I mean, he has, at least from a longevity standpoint, made some contributions, right, wrong, or indifferent. And my motion was really just to recognize that and to, I guess, allow for a graceful exit, is what I would call it. And the fact is the budget committee is made up, if it's full, of what, 14 citizens, and so there's usually not a really great opportunity for one person to kind of take the thing and lead it in a particular direction. So, even if his views may be different than some of ours, or stronger in some ways in some of ours, it doesn't put him in a position of power. So with that, I would, stand by my motion for the term that ended in 2027.
That answers your question. We do have a motion a motion and a second in front of us. So this has been the discussion period. Councilor Copeland?
Do we need all those spots filled in order for them to meet and do their thing? No?
No, because 7 of the members is council. We've already got 3. So currently we have 10 of the 14 members. So we do have enough to meet.
Okay. We do have a motion on the table. We've had discussion. I think it's time for a vote.
Could we just do a roll call vote?
Roll call vote? You got it. No problem.
All right, Councilor Todd.
Aye, for the reasons I said, and readings of institutional memory.
Copeland.
Aye.
Copeland.
He said aye.
Oh, I'm sorry. Councilor Owen.
Aye.
Councilor Dennerlein. Councilor Marker.
No.
Councilor Weber.
Aye.
Mayor Kudrna.
Aye.
Motion passes by majority.
Okay. Next, we have adopt East Multnomah County Transportation Safety Action Plan.
It's the really big file.
Yeah. It's beefy.
I know what the budget was for it.
Great. All right, good evening, Mayor Kudrina, members of the council. I'm Sarah Sullivan, Community Development Director, and I'm joined here this evening by Oklahoma County Transportation Planner, Mary Jo Anderson. And also sitting in the audience, we have Allison Boyd. She is the Transportation Planning Manager for the county. And we are here this evening to present the East Multnomah County Transportation Safety Action Plan and request the council to adopt the plan. So this project has really been a collaboration between many different parties. The project was funded by a federal grant through the Safe Streets for All program. Multnomah County applied for that grant and has really coordinated the project in collaboration with all the partners that we see on the screen here. The East Multnomah County Transportation Committee, or MUCTUC for short, has also been sort of serving as a convening party for the plan. They've provided oversight in plan development and also for implementation. Councilor Todd has been participating in that process. So what is a transportation safety action plan? This plan really brings together a deep dive on the data surrounding crashes as well as existing conditions, along with experiences from community members that were gathered through outreach that Mary Jo will talk about. And it takes this understanding of the locations where crashes are occurring, along with the reasons behind those traffic crashes, to then recommend some proven strategies to help make our roads safer for all users. The overall goal, as stated on the screen, is really aimed at reducing and eliminating serious injuries and fatalities. And as part of this effort, the East Multnomah County Transportation Committee adopted a Vision Zero goal for East Multnomah County. So this goal is to eliminate all traffic fatalities and serious injuries in East Multnomah County by 2035. And Fairview's adoption of the Transportation Safety Action Plan this evening would also support this goal and adopt a shared goal for East County. And this is a significant effort for the community because between 2013 and 2022, there have been 473 people seriously injured and 104 people who have lost their lives in crashes on East Multnomah County roadways. And in fact, between 2013 and 2022, the trends have gotten worse. So this is really a call to action to start reversing those trends over the next 10 years. The Vision Zero goal uses what's called the safe systems approach to design roadways. And this approach is kind of unique in that it recognizes that humans make mistakes. And the strategies are designed to design roadways that acknowledge these mistakes that are made and to really try and minimize the severity of crashes and prevent fatalities when those mistakes are made. So the actions that are outlined in the plan will involve multiple different approaches, as you see on the wheel there on the screen, and work that includes all the partners, including public health and law enforcement. So I'm going to turn it over to Mary Jo, who will talk about the community engagement that was done with this planning effort.
Thank you, Sarah. Again, my name is Mary Jo Anderson, and I'm a planner with Multnomah County. The engagement for this program happened over 3 phases. The first 2 phases coincided with the summers of 2024 and 2025, with the 3rd phase being this past fall. Throughout the process, we had over 3,000 community members who participated. Our materials were presented in 6 prominent languages out here in East County, and we did a mix of online surveys and information and emails, as well as in-person opportunities for people to participate. Our in-person engagement, we were very busy over those 2 summers. We came to Fairview for Fairview on the Green both summers, and were able to collect information live for people with our maps and our surveys. It was really busy. I recognize a lot of you from those events. And we also have the surveys online. We had toolkits available with social media posts and email posts that we passed on to our city partners. We had flyers in multiple languages that I took out to the libraries, and lawn signs with QR codes that led to the surveys. So we were really busy and out in the community and really had a great time connecting, doing the engagement. We really wanted to hear from people what their safety concerns were out on our roads. We also conducted listening sessions through an organization called the Community Engagement Liaisons. They do a deep dive into folks that might not answer a survey or come to one of our community events. And we did partner interviews with organizations that have boots on the ground interactions here in East Multnomah County. That included the organizations you see up on the screen. So what were the top safety concerns? You can see up here, we had a lot of folks that were very concerned with road maintenance, sidewalks, bike lanes, difficult intersections and crossings, difficulty to get around using a mobility device, not enough street lighting, and then behavior concerns, excuse me, were distracted driving, ignoring traffic signs and traffic laws. It needs water. And, go ahead, next slide. Sorry. Somebody take over.
I can go get it.
So the top concerns, really what we heard were followed up the following summer with support for the improvements and actions out on these safety corridors. Sorry.
I can jump in.
Thanks. Yeah, go ahead.
So, yeah, you can see here that during that phase 2, the community was asked, what can we do now to address your concerns? And so these really align with what their concerns were. You know, people said, we want better traffic crossings and better lighting and sidewalks. You know, we want to have more funding for Safe Routes to School, which has really been a proven program that, you know, Fairview's done so much great work with. We want better speed enforcement. There was a lot of concerns that were raised, especially in some of those listening sessions about speeding. So what can we do to help enforcement, such as speed cameras? And then lighting was also a huge concern because the incidents occur at such a high rate in hours of darkness.
Thank you so much. So you can also see that we had, from the first phase of engagement, we had an interactive map as well as the paper maps at our events that pinpointed the locations where people had safety concerns. And from that, we chose the 10 top safety corridors throughout East Multnomah County. And those are not in any particular order in the report, but you can see them identified here on the map.
Okay, thanks, Mary Jo. So I'm just going to go through some of the safety analysis so that you can see, you know, kind of on the map and with the numbers, what the situation here and why this is so important. So between 2013 and 2022, there were over 8,000 injury crashes. So that's 58 people on average severely injured or killed in crashes in East Multnomah County. And in Fairview alone, there were 13 traffic fatalities during that time period. And we were looking at that time period up to 2022 because at the time of this report, that was the most recent crash data that we were able to access, or that the consultant was able to get to. And people who were walking, biking, or on a motorcycle are much more vulnerable. You can see on the chart there that serious injury, crashes, and fatalities impact people on roadways who are not in a car much more than people who are in a car. So that is definitely a focus of this program while we're looking at all users. How can the improvements that we make help to protect the most vulnerable road users? This map shows vehicle crashes across the region, and so you can see that most of the crashes are occurring on the major roadways. So we've kind of circled Fairview, and you can see that the red dots are the highest concentration of vehicle crashes. So you can see that the Fairview Parkway corridor, Halsey and 223rd are showing up with some of those darker orange and red dots as locations where we're seeing most crashes in Fairview on those minor arterial roads. And this map here shows the high injury corridors, and East Multnomah County is overrepresented within the region in terms of how many high injury corridors are located here. In Fairview, Sandy Boulevard, Halsey, Fairview Parkway, Northeast 201st, the section of 223rd between Halsey and Gleason, those are all high injury corridors. So this is really the majority of our main roads in Fairview. Crossing the road at intersections, as well as at unmarked mid-block crossings, which happens quite frequently, especially in areas where there is a bus stop, are really high-risk situations for pedestrians and bicyclists. And through the process, we heard concerns repeatedly about lighting conditions. The report does go into a pretty deep analysis in terms of where there are areas of lower lighting. So that's definitely a recommended action to focus on improving lighting, especially pedestrian scale lighting. And the other reason that the lighting is a concern is because most fatal crashes do happen at night. And in fact, that kind of combines with the last bullet there, impaired driving is a leading factor. And 84% of after dark fatal crashes do involve drug or alcohol impairment. And that's why this effort isn't just about redesigning roadways and doing physical interventions, but it's also about working with law enforcement and public health to change these behaviors. All right, this is our last map. I know this is kind of small here, but this is showing the brown dots are showing areas where there's been an upward trend in crashes. And then there are some areas that are also kind of circled in black, which show that there's consistent crashes happening at those locations over time. So in Fairview, Fairview Parkway and Halsey, that intersection, as well as the I-84 interchange with Fairview Parkway are key locations where there are a lot of crashes happening. And then looking at Northeast 223rd, both the intersection of 223rd and Halsey and the location of 223rd and Gleason are really kind of hot spots for safety and for a high number of crashes. So these will be areas that we want to look at. The plan itself does provide some site-specific recommendations for Northeast 223rd. And I'll talk just briefly at the end about a project that's queued up to look at safety along that corridor. So the final plan does identify these 10 priority corridors around the region. But it also includes a number of system-wide safety improvements that could help in any location across East County to address things like speeding, intersection safety, pedestrian safety. And then there are also 5 different priority categories with a number of different actions identified in each one. And the plan is really intended to help create more immediate action. So it does outline the highest priority actions that the city should take. It identifies who should participate, the timeline for implementation, funding level that's needed, as well as how we're going to measure our progress. And Fairview, there are projects already underway that are looking at safety. So we have the Northeast 223rd Safe Routes to School project with construction coming this summer that will add sidewalks on the west side of the road, bike lanes on both sides, and new ADA ramps. And then we have the Safer Sandy Boulevard project, which we are in the concept planning phase now with final design coming up next and construction following that. And this is really focused on safety, adding sidewalks where there are none today, adding bike lanes that are safer by being out of the travel lane or out of the roadway, doing intersection improvements and adding additional mid-block crossings for people to safely cross because there are wide stretches without a traffic signal. And then last, I spoke about the Northeast 223rd corridor and how there are a lot of crashes happening in that area. So this last year, Multnomah County received a grant through the Regional Flexible Fund allocation through Metro's process to really study the corridor all the way from Marine Drive to Gleason and to do preliminary design so that we could move right into construction for priority locations such as sidewalk infills and really using this transportation safety action plan, I think, as a starting place to advance that work. And, I think we all recognize that there's a lot that needs to be done to improve safety on these roadways. So this is really, like I said earlier, a call to action for Multnomah County and for all the cities, as well as the partner agencies to focus on this. The improvements are really needed on the minor arterial roads, which are Multnomah County facilities. So the county will end up leading implementation and funding, but the Fairview City Council and staff can play a role in continuing to support those funding requests and providing advocacy for state funding, as well as writing letters of support as we apply for grants. Multnomah County is already applying for some grant opportunities. The health department just applied for one with the National Safety Council to address impaired driving. And then the next phase of the Safe Streets for All federal grant, which funded this project, will be to apply for an implementation grant. So those are available once you have an adopted safety action plan for a much higher dollar amount, up to $25 million. So the county is planning to apply for one of those this spring. So the city council can, I think, expect to continue hearing updates from Councilor Todd through Amoktuk in terms of the work that they're doing to pursue additional grants and looking for some quick build projects. And then staff will report back to Amoktuk and to city council on an annual basis in terms of the progress that's made. So you can also help to keep us accountable by making sure that we are reporting back and that we are making progress. And again, the Multnomah County Board of Commissioners, as I noted in the staff report, adopted the plan last week. And the Amoktuk recommended adoption by the cities. So this evening, the request is for the City Council to adopt Resolution 3-2026 to adopt the East Multnomah County Transportation Safety Action Plan and the shared goal to eliminate all traffic fatalities and serious injuries by 2035. So that's all we have for the presentation, and any of us would be happy to answer any questions.
Excellent, thank you. Councilor Tubb.
Thank you for the presentation. I also want to say that High Road, as well as Mayor High Road, has also been involved in valuable and time we're pushing on these things, to not have an amorphous down the road goal. Why not have this be a near term, like, priority? And I remember that being very important, in getting that whole committee to, instead of being like, oh, this is a good idea down the road, like, no, now's a good idea. It is sort of the feeling of that, and I want to give my thanks to Mayor Hiram for that in his other role. But it's a good plan, it's good details, and thank you very much for presenting that.
Thank you. Councilor Denneline.
The one was actually, or Marker was before me, but.
Okay, Councilor Marker. Thank you.
I've lived here for 25 years. I don't see anything changing up on 223rd and Halsey. When the apartments were built there, I had turned around and made the comment that we needed to turn around and make the road wider or something like that because there was going to be tons of congestion, okay? It hasn't changed, not at all. And the lighting at night is horrible on 223rd all the way down to Sandy Boulevard. And somebody's going to get hit and killed just on 223rd alone. And I don't know, it's horrible. I mean, I drive past there all the time, and you know, I see a lot of kids on bicycles that don't have lights. I think our police department needs to be a little bit more proactive, okay, in making sure that people do have lights on their bikes and stuff like that, so that way they can navigate what's going on. I think that's very, very important. It just, there's a lot of stuff that needs to get done before we even turn around and think about doing this stuff. That's where I'm coming from. That's it.
Thank you.
Councilor Denneline.
So I'll piggyback off of Councilor Marker a little bit. I think it's a great idea. I think, you know, we need to do this. I also think it's completely unachievable. There will be people killed after 2030, 2035, 2050, so long as there's four-wheeled vehicles that have greater acceleration, greater mass in the human body. It's a great goal that will never happen. So having said that, there's a couple of things that I think are missing. One is education. This morning was a perfect, I'm sitting here, I read this morning, was driving to meet a friend for breakfast. I'm going down Halsey, past either 181st or 162nd, I honestly didn't remember. And there's a woman with a black coat on, looking at her phone, crossing between where the crosswalk is over here with a light, and as Councilor Todd puts them, the blinky crosswalk over here. Didn't walk to either of those, just plowed through the middle of the street. People coming this way, hitting their brakes, I back off the accelerator, and she's clueless. You can't, nowhere in this are you talking about that. How do you educate people? When my wife goes for a walk in the morning, when it's dark outside, guess what? She has high vis on. She looks like a European. But we walk around, and I'm just as guilty as anybody else, wearing dark jackets and dark this, and look, I don't look at my phone. That's one thing I will not do when I'm walking, is look at my phone. And then the other part of it is enforcement. You know, laying in bed at 5 o'clock this morning, I can hear the Subaru who came through the village and then decided, how fast can I go around the block? Did you hear that this morning? Yeah. How do you fix, none of this is going to address that. So we need better enforcement. You know, we need better enforcement to make sure that kids are wearing helmets. We need to make, you know, better enforcement to get drunk drivers off the road. We need to have better enforcement to enforce speed laws. And finally, we need to, I feel like as a driver, you know, it's like you're vilified because you're a cager. Okay, you know what? I live 12 miles from central Portland. I'm not taking the bus. I've got other things I need to do. I'm certainly not riding my bike at my age. And so while I applaud this, I think those two components need to be brought into this. One is education, and the other one's enforcement. That's my little rant for tonight.
Maybe Joe or Allison, is there anything you want to add about how the plan addresses those items?
Well, I will touch on a little bit, Safe Routes to School program. We reach out to schools and work with schools on pedestrian safety and bike safety. and scooters. And we really do emphasize a lot with helmets and with visibility. And one of my partners, Bikeworks by Pair, they are getting funded to do e-bike work out in East Portland. So there will be more education being done regarding safety to all people, not just in the schools, but for all folks that are walking and biking. It is definitely an uphill challenge, but that is a component of the safety that is really important, because if you're in the schools and you're talking to students, you're also talking to teachers, you're also talking to parents. So we really do focus on that a lot. We need help getting the schools to participate. Schools are really overburdened right now, and
One more thing,
school
yeah.
districts really give a lot of autonomy to each individual school and let the school determine what programs they want in their school. But that is certainly part of the safety action plan, and it's certainly part of Multnomah County's commitment to continuing safe routes to school in East Multnomah County.
I would be curious to know from the county, when's the last time somebody got a jaywalking ticket in East County? And it sounds, flippant, but the fact is I remember walking in downtown LA, and at 6 o'clock in the morning, you could look all the way up Wilshire Boulevard and there wasn't a car coming, and I had my earbuds in, and I'm booking because I'm walking to work, and I crossed Wilshire against the light, and 15 seconds later, there was an LA sheriff or an LA police officer who pulled me over and was going to give me a ticket for jaywalking at 6 o'clock in the morning in downtown LA. And that got into my head that maybe when I'm in downtown LA, you don't jaywalk. Now, the flip side of that is if you don't jaywalk in New York City, they'll probably arrest you because they think you're on something because you're not jaywalking. But that comes back to this education, and I'm happy. I know that we try to do it with the schools, but I think sometimes we need to do it with the dumb adults.
So during my coughing attack, I got off track and did not remember to include that we did talk as part of our outreach with both Multnomah County Sheriff and with State Gresham Police as part of this plan and as part of including them. And in our public outreach and in talking with the officers, everyone knows that we need more enforcement. The public wants help with speeders. We all have people speeding around on our streets in the middle of the night. And we also need help with encouraging everybody to do the right thing. We know that the funding for patrol and for officers to be out on the streets has been greatly reduced over the past 5+ years. And the police departments are very aware of this, and they are working to build up to be able to provide some more support for us out there, both as traffic enforcement. And Sarah and I were talking either yesterday or today about trying to ask for some from our officers at some specific locations. So they are open to supporting us and to helping us, especially close to schools.
Sure.
Councilor Weber.
Yeah, I also agree that this sounds fantastic. It is long overdue. It's sad that it took this long, and it took, I don't know if it was just in general, the amount of accidents with serious injury, I don't know if it was fatalities, but that doubled in 2 years, from 2020 to 2022. And had the county been proactive, maybe we could have prevented some of those. But hindsight, right? Can't go back and change that, but I am glad that it's going forward. I hope that this doesn't get caught up in the bureaucracy of government work, and really moves forward, especially with some of those, low-cost temporary fixes that can be done to address some of these issues, pretty quickly. As far as, so a while ago, I had a discussion with a community member. We were talking about cars and loud cars and cars without
Functioning headlights or blinkers or wipers. And one of the things that we had talked about was, wouldn't it be great if when you had to go to DEQ
to get your car cleared there so you can get your stickers,
if they also had to do like a safety check?
and
Do you have two functioning headlights? Do
your wipers work?
are they in good shape? Do all of your blinkers work? Do your brakes work? Do your seatbelts work? All of those things. So I don't know if that's something that.
Yeah, I see you nodding.
Well, I grew up in a state that had that, so.
Okay, yeah, I just think it makes sense, and
We don't do that in Oregon, so that's a little bit higher above you.
Yeah, and I recognize that DEQ is at the state level and, you know, this is county, but even if Multnomah County could add something, you know, that would require all vehicles to have a safety inspection every 2 years or whenever, would just be really great because, you know, there has to be something done. I just see all the time. And maybe blinkers work and they just don't use them, but.
That's probably more likely.
Okay. Counselor John?
Just as I'm putting this on, I just want to say, this is, I agree with what Councilor Denneline said about that there are other issues. There is no way that we're ever going to get to zero. The idea of this is create design protocols to push things as close to zero as we can. That when you redo a road, when you look at a road, that everything you do is to push injury and fatality accidents, you know, push everything as close to zero as we can get. So better lighting, better design, moving bike lanes out of the way, lowering speed limits, like the way that you do, you know, an intersection, everything pushes to mitigate human error as close to zero as we can get. And I think it's a really good plan. People put a lot of work into this, so I urge everyone to vote for this thing.
And I would tend to agree, there is not going to be a pill that solves it all, but this is a good step. Speaking on behalf of Fairview, if you're looking at 223rd from Gleason to Marine Drive, a Herculean thank you is going to come from me. There are plenty of sections that we've fought to try to get sidewalks on, and they're still not there. And in a county that emphasizes alternative form of transportation, it seems very ironic that the safety procedures for those alternative forms of transportation are lacking. So thank you, I really appreciate it. I also agree with the education. I saw a comment in the slide packet that stated it was about pedestrians. Cars not recognizing intersections, whether they're marked or not.
Yeah.
Timeout. Piggyback on what Councilor Denneline said. Sounds like jaywalking to me. I personally look at 223rd south of Stark to right at the top of the hill where Fairview Parkway intersects. That is a long stretch with not many street lights and no crosswalks.
And no intersection.
And I can't tell you how many times I've seen people cross at 7:30 at night on December wearing all black and flipping off traffic because we can't see them.
Yeah.
So yes, we need safety improvements. I think there's enough to go around, enough responsibility to go around for everybody, but it has to start somewhere. Thank you for starting. I would love, yeah, so perfect. With that, we do have, unless there's any other comments, we do have a resolution on the board. Unless there's any other questions.
I move that we adopt Resolution 3, 2026 as presented to us.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Let's see, we are running a little bit short on time, but we have adopt criteria for review and evaluation of city manager's performance.
Yes.
This is on our city recorder / HR director. Just going to highlight
Our
that.
HR director / city recorder. I'm kind of thinking, in this case.
I go to term of service, but I hear you.
City recorder more than. At the moment. Cat, does she have one?
We can take as long as we need.
We have 27 minutes since we have to move to extend council.
Good evening, council. So this item is on our agenda because we wanted to see if you would be open to updating the performance evaluation criteria and process for the city manager. So a little bit of background, in 2019, council at that time adopted criteria and review criteria for the city administrator position. But in 2022, we had a charter change by the voters that created a council manager structure and created the city manager role within the charter and removed the city administrator role from the municipal code. So looking at that, the criteria that you would use for a city administrator may not necessarily match up with what we would expect of a city manager's position because there are differences. So we looked at a bunch of examples and the ICMA, which is the International City County Managers Association, actually had information on best practices for city manager performance evaluations. And the more we looked at that, we saw a lot of similarities between what they were sharing and what these other cities were doing. So with that, the proposal is for council to consider adopting the ICMA performance evaluation criteria, which covers over 10 categories. And then the process, which would be where city council would completely complete the performance evaluation. We would also then create 2 surveys, one based for department directors and one based for staff. All of this information would then be aggregated and presented to city council when they do their performance evaluation review. So with that, do you have questions?
Yes, are there any questions from council? Councilor Marker.
Didn't we do this before?
We did it in 2019 for the city administrator performance evaluation.
So why,
Last time we updated the.
so enlighten me, why are we doing it again?
Because our current city manager is up for an evaluation and we, staff, myself, felt that we needed to look at the evaluation and process.
Criteria wasn't necessarily.
And make sure that the criteria is aligning with what a city manager's performance should be.
Okay. I just wanted to know because I remember us doing it before.
Yep.
Okay.
Any other questions? Yes.
I was just gonna, I kind of would miss doing the behavioral competency. I thought that there were some things in there that I could work with, but otherwise.
Yes.
I was just going to respond to Councilor Marker, but Councilor Darrell, I think we did put, this one has characteristics and has in there, so you can actually have.
Well, I liked the anticipates and creatively, what is it? Controls emotions effectively in difficult situations.
I think that's very important for leaders. Important.
Good thing I'm not a leader.
If I may, Councilor Marker, Deborah and I spent a lot of time looking at this, and one of the things I wanted to have is a more comprehensive, she did a great job, thank you, Deborah. Wanted really comprehensive, I wanted to be able to really look at all the different categories, and looking at what you had before, I think was a very basic line, and this is a lot more comprehensive. Something else, not all my colleagues, city managers would agree with me, but I think it's very healthy to have a full 360 evaluation with all the employees. So the way this one actually works, I know Deborah talked about it, but all the department heads, including, in fact, I've reached out and asked Lance Hensworth's going to be a part of it because he was here for almost a year. Bob is actually willing to be part of it, even though he's been a short time, and also our current chief of police, Captain Hockla, will also be a part of it. But the idea is you have all that, it's all anonymous, and all the other employees, and that helps the council look at, hey, these are the like direct reports. In the case of chiefs of police, not direct reports, but they work directly with me on an ongoing basis. And the rest are going to be able to look and say, hey, how's the city manager? What are the plans? What's the city manager thinking? How's the city manager interact with others? How does he work with us, how, et cetera, et cetera. And so I think looking at a comprehensive approach with a lot more criterion is what Deborah has provided to you.
So does this make you look better than you actually are, or does it make you look worse?
No, I think it's up to us.
Yeah.
It's up to the council. No, in my experience, having worked in cities that did both, and one thing, I understand I'm the first person to request a full 360 here, and I was also the first person in Tillamook. And, although I never know exactly whose comments are, a few comments that were a little negative were the ones that probably I had to work with, and they had some issues, and that's to be expected. But to me, I think it gives you a more in-depth experience of what's going on. So if there is an employee, say there's a couple of employees in the department and, Nathan comes down and yells at them or something, you're gonna know that. And I don't do that, by the way, but those are the types of things that I think it helps give a real reflection. If there is something that comes out that says, hey, there's a negative, it's like, give me an opportunity to talk about it and explain it. If there is a case, I don't know. I wouldn't think there is, but.
For me, you are who you are, okay?
Correct.
If you're not doing a good job, we're gonna tell you so. If you're doing a fantastic job, we're gonna tell you so. So, I guess what I'm having trouble wrapping my head around is, why did we have to change it in the first place? We all know who you are, we know what your job is, and so, is this just to turn around and make you sound better than you actually are, or what? That's what I'm trying to understand.
This really is, if I may, this is a lot more vulnerable for me. Yeah. This is a way more vulnerable. Yeah. It would be easy for me just to have an evaluation with you seven, just us, right? Because you're only gonna see what you see. The employees see everything. The department heads see everything, and the employees see a lot of everything. But the department heads, they're with me all the time, and we talk, and then it's an opportunity for they're completely anonymous. In this case, there'll be 5, 6, 7 people involved, so, it really gives you an opportunity to look deep into the organization. Like, for example, my role is to look deep in the organization and provide you recommendations on operations. Some operations I take care of, but on policy decisions, it's giving you information. This is the information, this is the feedback, this is the opportunity for the council to get that deep feedback from all the way down. I shouldn't say, I don't mean like hierarchy down, but all of our employees, from frontline staff to everybody. It really gives you that really deep knowledge, and it's all anonymous, so no one's gonna know. Not even Deborah will know. She'll just get a survey, comes back, it's aggregated information. And the only way someone knows if they wrote their name in the comments, which no one's gonna do. But it gives you a real perspective on what's going on.
Well, I have to tell you this, before your predecessor left, we had a meeting with the staff, and I went, and Councilor Owen went, and I never saw a staff that was so quiet in my entire life. There was no questions asked, there was no questions answered. The guy left, and that was it. And so, at that time, I learned something about being the boss, okay? And what I learned was treat your employees with dignity and respect all the time, not just sometime, okay? And I see that you do that every day, so.
Just a reminder, we are running a short on time.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Mayor.
Are we still going?
We have 2 more still talking about this. Councilor Copeland.
I just wanted to say the criteria for the evaluation looks great. Good job, Deborah. And just so I understand, us counselors will see the results from the department heads before we do our evaluation, correct?
Yes, council, there'll be a future meeting scheduled where council will be presented all of the information.
Okay.
You'll see it from council, the department, directors, and then the staff. It'll be broken down by the categories.
Okay.
Yes.
I got it, thank you.
And Councilor Todd.
Same, this new job description, new evaluation, and more information, and this is thinking ahead to 10 years from now when none of us are on here, and somebody else might be in that chair. We're making sure there's a good system for 10 years, 15 years down the road. Is the council and the staff gonna have the right tools to do everything right?
Gotcha, I got it now.
I think the difference
This is a new job description.
right. That's the difference is, the old one from 2019 would take me about 15 minutes to fill out. And the new one, I actually have to think about. It's gonna take me an hour or so to put some thought into it. That's the difference. Yeah, it's much better.
Thank you, both of you, I appreciate it.
Any other questions or comments?
Motion to approve resolution 46.
Second.
29, excuse me, resolution 4-2026.
Second.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you very much. All right. City manager director reports, MCSO.
All right, I'll keep it brief in the interest of time, because we are running a bit late. I'm Jason Pearson, I'm lieutenant with the Sheriff's Office, assigned to the Investigations Unit, Captain Hackler, Peter tonight, because he had a family commitment he was involved in. So, let's get down and dirty. So calls for service for the month of December in Fairview, 556, and that might sound a lot, but when you take into account 338 of those self-initiated calls, that's deputies out doing proactive work, looking for things to do. It's not a call for service, it's not a call into an emergency or 911. And 194 traffic stops. And those traffic stops will include the traffic mission that we run a couple weeks ago, kind of the core area here as well. With that, detectives, we had 15 new cases assigned. Those were not necessarily all felony cases that occurred in the city of Fairview. Some of them were referrals that come from the outside. They just happen to be here. And of those 8 cases were disposed, which means they're closed. There was a resolution to them, so they're no longer being worked on, which leaves 7 open cases. Priority 1 through 2 emergency calls for service, 35 for the month of December, which was a decrease from the month prior, which had 41. Priority 3 through 7, which are the non-emergency, the lower priority calls, 179, slight increase by 3 from the month before. So not really any big difference there. Let's see, response times for those priority 1s and 2s, 4 minutes, 29 seconds. Non-emergency ones, 3 through 7, 6 minutes and 51 seconds. So keeping in mind this pretty large geographical area that everyone has to work in Multnomah County. That's actually not bad. I'm coming from Portland, where I worked before I came here. That's actually really darn good when you take that into account. On those calls, the deputies spent an average of minimum 21, 23, 25 minutes on all those calls for service, so they're there for a little bit. I know that we just had to talk about Division 0 with the accidents within Fairview city limits. There were 3 specific to Fairview Parkway, which I'll just highlight. That's just 3 total. They were non-injury, they were minor fender benders, and they occurred anywhere from Gleason all the way down to I-84. No fatal crashes. We are planning on doing some more traffic missions in and around the core area and around Fairview. Another one will be mid-February, and then throughout the year as well, whenever we get staffing. We're to talk about the traffic stops. I think that's really about it in terms of numbers. Does anyone have any questions about Sheriff's Office, what's going on?
Yes, Council Weber, you have a question?
Yeah, I'm just wondering, and you may or may not have information, but I'm wondering if you have any information about the missing person case or the death investigation.
Which?
This is under the activity reporting. Missing person was from 12/11 and the death investigation is from 12/30.
12/11. Let's. All I know is that they responded to a report. I don't have a resolution to that.
I figured you might not, so I can email Chief Sacco.
I can get that for you.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Excellent, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Director reports, police/rec, how about?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'll also keep it brief. We're in the full swing of our winter programming with launching 12 programs that we're currently running, serving 167 registered participants. With the remaining, we have 20 programs remaining to launch. So in that 20 remaining, we feel that we can get a better rate of numbers and kind of be close to what we were last year around this time. With those efforts, Nancy has been looking at multiple ways of promoting our programming and encouraging registration revenue and registered participants as well. Last council meeting, council approved for the rebranding of Fairview Summer Festival. With that, Annie has been working on a new sponsorship packet. The goal with this, again, is to encourage businesses and organizations to invest in our overall community events and have them promoted widely across our events. That's all I have for this evening. I'll take any questions.
I think we're good. Thank you very much. Community development.
All right, good evening again. In planning, we've been continuing to work on our tree effort. We've got a planning commission meeting next week with a public hearing on a text amendment requested by an applicant, so that will be coming forward to the council. In terms of transportation and planning, the Safer Sandy Boulevard project, last phase of outreach is happening. Staff from Multnomah County Transportation will be at the East County Food Bank this Saturday. We also were getting started on reviewing some regional employment and population forecast work with Metro that happens every few years. So we'll be bringing back some information in terms of projected employment and population numbers into the future. And Nate and I are working on getting together some information to help Integrity Solutions, a consultant that's worked for the cities in the past with urban renewal financial projections, so that the council can have a better picture of what the future holds for our urban renewal funds. Excellent. All right, so that's all I have for this evening. Happy to answer any questions.
That's it. Great. Thank you so much. Public Works.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Dave Murray. So, not much going on in the grand scheme. My goal here is to look at the projects that are going on, and just do what I can do to keep things moving until positions filled. Also looking at policies, procedures, and operations to see what we can tweak there. I will say, you had 2 hires in December that are fantastic. And there's really a strength growing down at the public workshops. So congratulations on that. 2 things, well 10, if you go out in the morning and with a cup of coffee and you hear some banging, it's called a cable tool drill, and they're banging the casing down 50 feet through boulders. So they're making progress there. So I think they started drilling today with that tool. So the first 50 feet are going to be noisy, and then they'll go into a different drilling method. And finally, the operations manager was able to work with Cultivate Initiative, and 207th Parkway is cleaned up.
Is that who did that? Yeah. Okay, it was an unbranded vehicle, and I did share that with council, that somebody was clean, but it was a plain white truck, so. Okay, thank you so much.
I had nothing to do with it, but I'm on the outside.
Seriously, it was a huge thank you.
I'll let them know.
We got very excited.
Yes, it doesn't take much. Where do we want to skip?
Let's go with Deborah.
Yes.
HR Director.
I will learn this at some point, I promise.
So good evening. So brief recap on HR activities. So we filled the HR assistant position. I'm in the process of finalizing the pre-employment requirements. I'm sure everything's going to check out fine, but the plan is for this person to start on February 2nd. We are accounting clerk 1, which one of the primary duties they will be doing is utility billing. I'm so sorry. We received 19 applications. We've narrowed them down. We have 4 candidates that we're moving forward with interviews, hope to get those scheduled next week. We are continuing to recruit for the Public Works Director position. Process improvement, we created an IT help desk request form and a facilities request form for our staff to use internally. This creates a single intake process and helps the staff track and organize the requests that are coming into them. In fact, I also did send council in my report the IT request form link. So if you ever need assistance, that link goes directly to our IT manager. And then speaking of IT, Linda shared she's continuing to learn functions and details for many of the admin portals and the choices within those portals for Microsoft 365. We also are starting discussions on multi-factor authentication processes for 365. And she found some redundant services that we had that now with 365 we no longer need, and she canceled those. It'll be about a savings of $1,300 a year. So every bit helps. And with that, any questions?
So are you gonna send that thing in to the internet lady and let her know that I need my computer fixed?
I do know that, you just need to tell me when you want to schedule.
Okay.
To meet with it.
Thanks, Deborah.
Finance.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Last week was audit week. The auditors were doing their field work, but it was virtual, and we had everything pretty much done, and didn't hear from them pretty much all week, so that's always good news. We're supposed to get a small checklist of minor things that they still need us to provide, and they're hoping that they'll have the financial statements done by the end of March or beginning of April. So I'm hoping end of April that we'll be able to bring those financial statements to you, which is good news, and then we can get on to the next year.
Love it. What year was that for?
Fiscal year 2022-23. So we're getting there.
3 down.
Yeah, I'll be glad when I'm only doing one a year. Deborah already touched on the recruitment for the accounting clerk position, so I won't go into that. And today we had training for Tyler on service orders and utility billing. And so what that'll do is we'll make everything electronic instead of passing papers off to the workers in Public Works to go and turn on services, turn off services. And we're hoping that we can get it to where we can just send it via email to them, and it'll all be just electronic back and forth, save a lot of travel time back and forth for the guys that go out and do that work. And also, at the end of this month, we're going to finally get to the output director in Tyler, which will allow us to email our pay stubs out. So we'll get rid of printing those out as well. Any questions?
One. So if you don't have a separate sewer bill or something like that, you don't have to worry about what you guys turned around and sent out?
I'm not following.
The sewer bill information that you guys turned around and sent out said that if you had a separate sewer, you're gonna have to pay at a different time or what?
Oh, no, that's for sewer-only customers. Currently, we bill every other month. And we are going to, starting with the month of March, so it'll be the April bill, will be billed every month instead of every other month. We've had a lot of comments from customers that would prefer the every month billing because every other month, the bill's quite large. And for people who aren't getting a whole lot of money every month, it makes it difficult at times for people. So we're just going from every other month to every month, just like the water bills.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you so much. City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. And one more thing on those sewer bills, it also is more efficient for our team internally too.
Gotcha.
It's easier for us. Consistency improves processing. Just a couple quick things. I know we have we're at a long meeting here, and I don't want Counselor Hall to fall asleep, so.
My phone left me a message just a minute ago. Take your time.
Just a couple of things. A reminder, I do give, of course, you have the updates, get a lot of information updates, but we've been setting up new email addresses. We've been moving over to a system where we have email addresses. We still have people have addresses too, but trying to have duplicates, redundancy, and making sure those things are covered. So you are welcome to email Public Works, just publicworks@fairvieworegon.gov, and pass it out to your neighbors. That can do anything to do with parks or streets. Send it over, and we'll take those and sort them and get them to the right place if they go to the county. Of course, you can also report the county, that's great. And also code enforcement, code compliance. Code compliance, excuse me, code compliance at fairvieworegon.gov. And these are all on our website as well. Anything to do with code, any code compliance or enforcement, you can email it in and get that going. We also have a link you can follow. We'll be doing a lot more postings as we get more geared up. One, as far as inclement weather, if inclement weather happens and we need to close City Hall, I will keep you informed. And it's nice because I live really close, so that's helpful. But, and the last thing I want to say is, as far as the internal processing, like the Tyler system that Ann's talking about, you kind of imagine the city's had this wonderful Tyler system, and this goes for all of our systems. It was like basically a Wilbur Brothers type plane, like it just kind of took off a little bit. And now we're like the commercial airliner. And I don't know if you saw, but I think today was the initial date, whenever it was in the 80s, of the supersonic flu, I think the supersonic jet. Anyway, we'll eventually get to that point too. That's where we're going. But I want to do that for Councilor Dennerlein a little.
Yeah, I appreciate the issue, but metaphors.
So what I'm trying to say is our process is, we have a long ways to go, but we've come a long ways. We're continuing to go and make things more efficient, more effective. Actually, I take that back. One more thing I want to say on February 4th, looking forward to a great session to talk about all kinds of things from utilities to general fund to planning to the work we're doing here internally. So looking forward to seeing everybody. A reminder, that's at 5 o'clock.
Yes, that is a work session. It's a
session only.
Work session, so it starts at 5.
All work session. Food and work session. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay. Now we're to councilor updates. We'll start at this end. Councilor Weber.
Attended the fire service safety committee with all 4 cities. No real new information to pass on, just continued discussions about the cost and expenses and all that, but we're hoping to get into it more next month, in a couple weeks.
Excellent. Councilor Marker.
Nothing to report, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councilor Dennerlein.
The MHCRC is still going away, and we're appointing grants, even though I basically have said I'm not going to participate in the grant participation or the grant program, because I don't think that that's what we should be doing. Holding my guns.
Council President Owen.
I just wanted to thank you, Nathan, for the time you took today. Nathan and I did a ride around the city and then had a nice follow-up meeting afterwards, so appreciate the time.
You're welcome.
And Council Copeland.
Nothing to report. We meet on Monday.
Excellent. Council Todd.
You saw the transportation plan?
Yep.
That we have passed. The Mountain Top and R1 are going to be meeting to set our agenda priorities for this next year coming up. That's all I got.
Right. And yeah, like Councilor Weber, attended Eagle Fest with the 4 cities. Yes, nothing happened, but we do have very high hopes for the next meeting. I think that one's gonna be really, as long as we get the information we requested, it's gonna be very productive. Otherwise, starting next week, I will be the chair of the Multnomah Policy Advisory Committee for the year 2023. Won't come into conflict until the last 2 months of the year, as it did last year. So probably in November, I will skip one of their meetings, and in December, I will have to skip one of ours. Just unfortunately, just the way it goes. Otherwise, it's been pretty quiet. Do we have any citizens wishing to comment on non-agenda items? You're good. All right. With that being said, one last motion to entertain.
Motion to adjourn. Second. Third.
I heard Owen and a second over here for Poe. That's what I heard. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you, folks. Appreciate everything.
Hi, Henry.
Hey, Mr. Police Chief?
All right.
Counselors.
How old is he now?
13.
He's got a few. And he can join.
Yeah. Want to have you,